everybody, I'm Mark Oceani with Innovative Creations, ICI. We're here today with our 2018 Ford Raptor. We're going to install one of our Baja series bumpers on it. We're going to walk you through the installation process. We've taken the liberty of removing the factory bumper, so we want to walk you through a couple of the pointers that are critical when you do this. It's just going to make your life a lot easier when you're trying to do this. This bumper typically is about an 1.5 to 2 hour installation. I do recommend that you do have an extra pair of hands with you. It's not real heavy, but when you're working on a painted vehicle, you definitely don't want to scratch it, so having an extra pair of hands around is always helpful. A couple of things that we want to talk about on the Ford F-150 and the Raptor bumpers when you're doing the installation is there's a lot of items in these rear bumpers from the factory that we need to remove prior to doing the installation. A couple of things are the parking sensors, the receiver hitch trailer plug, plate lights, things of that nature that come stock on the vehicle that we want to remove, but we need to save them for later because we're going to reinstall them in our Magnum bumper. One of the things that's probably the most difficult part of this bumper removal from the factory is figuring out how to get to all the factory hardware. Ford puts a nice plastic cover all the way across this bottom. It's part of the step plate area. You have to remove that in order to get access to the inside bolts that are on the bumper. Sounds easy, can be a little bit difficult at times, but the easiest way to do this is with two people again. If you got somebody from the top and somebody from the bottom, there's a bunch of little plastic clips on the bottom. You just squeeze them together. As the other person's lifting up on the bumper pad, it'll start to release itself all the way across. Start on one side, work your way across. You can get that thing off without damaging it. Makes life a whole lot easier. You know, if you ever decide you want to put this back to stock, you don't want to ruin that piece because it's a pretty pricey little piece from Ford. So do your best, take your time, no rush. Just take your time doing this thing a little bit at a time. It'll come off easy, and then you'll be off and ready to running. One thing that's unique to the F-150 and the Raptor installations is on the factory hitch, there is a step plate bracket. That bracket is welded in from the factory. What we have to do, and this is one of the very few bumpers that you have to do this on, we actually have to cut that off of the vehicle. Just takes a simple cutoff wheel and abrasive cutoff disc, cuts right through that thing. If you've got a blending disc or sanding device of any kind, whether it's an angle grinder or whatever, just clean those sharp edges up when you're done. The couple of pieces that we're going to cut from this are these two brackets right here. So there's a bottom and a top. Basically, we just cut the two sections off. You don't really need to save these, so you can throw these away. But basically where those go are right here in front of the spare tire on the truck. So we've already got them off. We put some paint on it to keep anything from rusting, and then we'll just proceed on with our installation. Also on the Ford, factory wiring harness. This is what goes to all the parking sensors. Now the Ford Raptor comes with the factory sensors on all applications. F-150, you can get it without the sensors on it, but most all your F-150s come with it. So this is something that stays on the vehicle. All these unplugged from the back of the sensors. We simply just push the button, pop these out, leave the harness in place on the truck. You don't have to remove this. It also helps keeping it kind of where it belongs on the vehicle. So when you go to reinstall it, you don't put it accidentally on the wrong side. So there's quite a bit of wire here, but they are pretty specific to their location. So you want to keep this on the vehicle as much as possible. Now, we've got the bumper completely removed. You can see all the mounting points. This is the factory receiver hitch, factory tow hooks. The mounting locations we're going to be using are here and here and here. So there's 3 per side on this particular bumper. It's a pretty straightforward installation. We'll get through how we transfer the parts off of the factory bumper into our Baja bumper next. All right, so what we've got here, we've got our Baja series bumper laid out. What we started with doing is we transferred all of the factory parking sensors over from the OE bumper. We took out this plastic bezel here that snaps into the factory bumper. We've put them back in place on the Baja series bumper. Now it's real important that you keep these in the correct order when you take them off. So don't just pop them all out and throw them on the ground. Keep track of where you take them out. I like to take them out one by one and just work my way from one side to another. They will snap into place. These are laser cut positions in the panel on the bumper. So they'll orientate them for you. Just plug them in, pop the sensors in place. We want to do that before we put the bumper onto the truck. Really limited access once you get up underneath there when the bumper's in place. So it's just a whole lot easier to try to do this offside the truck. Not to mention, if you have any kind of a fitment issue, for any reason you need to do any adjustments to this piece, it's a lot easier to do it when it's on the ground or on the workbench versus on the truck. So anyhow, so here's our parking sensors. The next thing we removed is our spare tire lock. That's this little guy right here. On your key fob, there is a key that'll pop in here. That's basically just the spare ignition key. Drop that in here. This will unlock. This transfers back over the bumper. Again, this is cut out to match the exact profile of the bumper, so you want to make sure that this thing goes in there the correct way. Put that in there. You will need a key. Keep that in mind. The next thing that we did is we installed our LED plate light. Now this comes with the bumper. We do not reuse the factory plate lights on this particular application. So we supply one of our really nice bright LED plate lights. The next thing that we got to transfer over, this is the trailer plug. Now this just snaps in. It's got these two little silver tangs on it. In some cases you have to really just get a little screwdriver in here, pop these out to help these things seat back into the Baja Series bumper properly. This is one of those parts that real important that you don't break it when you're pulling it out. If you just pinch these two tabs together, this thing will pop out of the factory bumper real easy, so don't force it. Just take your time. Again, this will snap right back into this location here in the bumper. You can put that in before you put it on the bumper, or you can leave this out. Either way, there's enough pigtail on the harness that you can pull this through the bumper and plug it in once you've got the bumper on the vehicle. Now that we've transferred all the components over from the factory bumper into our Baja Series bumper, we've got the hardware supplied from ICI. We also have one of the factory bolts that we're going to reuse on the installation. I'm going to get Kyle to step in here. He's going to be my extra pair of hands. We're going to go ahead and put this onto the truck, continue our installation. All right, thank you for joining us today on our installation of our Baja Series bumper on our 2018 Ford Raptor. One of the things I'd like to go over before we close is, if you're in the market for a bumper like this, a lot of things you can consider when you're looking at all the people that are out there that are building bumpers for these trucks. Although they all may look the same in a lot of areas, there's a lot of features about the ICI bumpers that make them probably pretty unique in the aftermarket industry. A lot of things like how we transfer over all of the factory accessories into your bumper. We'll supply an LED plate light where it's needed. We give you all the mounting hardware. You don't have to run down to Home Depot and buy hardware that you're missing. Everything comes with this bumper. The removable aluminum panels, sensor bezel locations, the trailer plug, the spare tire lock, all those things from the factory bumper right into our Baja Series bumper. One of the other great features about the ICI bumpers is our multi-stage powder coat system. These things are all built right here in Phoenix. We take a lot of pride, US built steel. You're not going to get a better built product anywhere in the country, so consider ICI. When you're looking at stuff like this, go to ICIonline.com and we'll see you soon.